Um, Karen Vaughan.
Yes, Tiffanee Cook, how you going?
Welcome to, what we've just decided is going to be a co-share episode, Roll with the Punches and Say It.
Say it as we'll go with the punch. I don't know what.
Get off the bench. Your show, Get Off the Bench. Hey, it rolls together well. Get off the bench and roll with the punches.
Actually does, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
Yeah, as
Hell,
long
you're
as you
not
don't.
too quick though, are you? You were mighty quick when I last saw you.
I'm not. Nah. I'm just thinking, as long as you don't get punched in the face and fall off the bench. But like we, either way, we'll go with anything.
or punched in the face for not getting off the bench.
I know that's more likely. That's more likely.
Well,
Yeah,
that's right. I don't spend a lot of time on the bench, as you've
you
probably
don't.
noticed. I get a bit stir crazy.
You. I don't understand how you fit so much in. You're just amazing.
You know, interesting you say that because I'm always trying to evolve and do things better and refine the way I do things. And the end of the last year, I thought I'm gonna scale back from 5 episodes a week to 3 episodes a week on my show, and obviously I produce for other shows as well. And just before I went away for 10 days, I thought, was I ever doing 5? You will
Yeah.
feel the time that you put in, like
Yeah.
with whatever you've got. But oh my goodness, I was like, wow, I don't know how I did that.
No, I don't know how you do it either. By the way, I love your new bike. That is a killer bike.
I was just on the interweb then looking up purchasing some motorcycle cleaner because, much to my disgust after my big ride yesterday, my beautiful teal roll with the punches coloured wheels are grotty. I was like, I'm gonna have to clean this bad boy.
To get those teal, interior wheels. Did you get them made, or did it come?
No, it came
Wow.
with that. Can you even believe it? It came in those colours, which for anyone listening, I've just bought a new road motorcycle. It's an MT-07, which is a Yamaha, and it is dark grey with roll with the punches teal rims.
Yep. Rims. That's what I was looking for. It is amazing. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
I took it up to Arthur's Seat, my first destination ride yesterday. We did 160 k's, did some of those hairpin bends, terrifying. I'm
Yep.
booked in for a track day at Broadford. It's been 11 years since I've ridden a bike, so I literally feel like it's a really interesting experience, Karen. It's like there's all of this innate ability that's just there that I felt like immediately I was on the bike and I'm riding around, nervous as all hell, of course, but very cognitive.
Yeah.
But as well as being very cognitive of the whole process and very aware of everything I'm doing, there was just a level of observing. Like I remember this particular corner. I was on the first day riding it, and I'm going around a corner, and I'm thinking, I just look where I want to go, and bike goes there because my
Yep.
body remembers how to ride the bike,
Yep.
but my mind is going, hey, what do we have to do at the same time as I'm just doing it? So I really got to brush up on, the process and getting really confident. So yeah, track day, here we go.
Oh, that's pretty fantastic. Yeah, I agree with you. I haven't ridden a bike for, I don't know, years, but I've still got my motorbike license and love it. But it's exactly right. What you're saying is you've got to look where you're going and don't bloody look down. This is where everybody buggers up. I'm going to look down. Oh shit, here comes a corner, and you're off. Tiff, I can sort of challenge you on your bike thing. And I know it's not quite up to the same league, but we were looking at e-bikes, and that kind of stuff. I'm 60, so I'm allowed to have a fucking e-bike. Anyway,
I just rode one for the first time in Tassie last week.
They're fantastic, aren't they?
They're brilliant and terrifying.
Yeah, I know, because they just take off all of a sudden, aren't they?
Yeah.
I know. Well, we went and had a look at them, and they, like $3,000 and all that kind of stuff. And then I said to my partner, why don't we just get a mountain bike, non-electric? Let's take it on a few rail trails, see how we go, because we are getting off the bench. Like, let's face it, we're really, And then they were like, the cheapest one was about $800. And I said, oh, bloody hell, but we wanted an e-bike, and now we're going to buy one that's not an e-bike, and it's $800. And then are we going to be bothered getting an e-bike? And then I went, fuck it. Let's just go to Big W and buy a $150 bike, right? So we did. We went and bought a men's mountain bike each from a Big W, $169 they were. And our asses, we rode them, and our asses were like, on those mountain bike seats. We couldn't walk. And plus, with the mountain bike handlebars, you're leaning forward, and your back and everything else. It's really crappy for your neck if you're not, charging down the mountain. And so I went and bought a cruiser seat. It's called a big bum seat. It's fantastic, right? And so I changed over the seats, and then I said, you know what? I'm going to get cruiser handlebars, so that they come back like, the old-fashioned girly bikes, that shit. That's fantastic. And so I changed over the handlebars, and they are the best bloody bikes. Like they're mountain bikes with gears, and they're all converted to cruiser hardware. It is fantastic. So we love them.
You're going to have to send me a photo of this custom bike of yours. And you can literally get to say to people, now, I built my own bike.
Yeah, that's right.
You just say, I built it from scratch.
I can't tell you how many people are impressed. They look at me like, wow, you know how to build bikes. I do make a bit of a point of it. I say, oh, yeah. I replace the seat and I replace the handlebar, and I make it sound like it's really big. Actually, it was quite a big deal putting all those brakes on the handlebar and everything. And, but the seats just kind of undo a latch and slip the other one in, but we won't tell people that.
We won't tell them that. I don't know if you do this, but when, like, with everything I do outside of, in inverted commas, work, because I'm not sure I even work.
Yeah,
I work all of the time, but I don't feel like I work. But outside of that, so as I was doing that cornering on the bike the other day, I was like, what an analogy. Like, don't worry if you concern yourself with where you currently are on the road, on the corner. You are not getting to where you want to be. You got to have your eyes where you want to be. And I was like, that's just a great analogy and reminder for life. And I love doing things. It's the same with boxing. I love doing things that in that moment, it punches me in the face with the reminder in a way that for me, it resonates. And for me, it changes me, and it gets me really enthusiastic and excited, more than just, I don't know, some douchebag on the internet telling you, which I'm that douchebag for a lot of people. So that's awkward.
Yeah.
But you find your own way to relate to something and go, and it's like, I've said it a million times, but in the middle of that experience, looking where I need to go and going, doesn't even matter where I am on the road in the middle of this corner. That doesn't need to concern. Well, obviously it does need to concern me, but to a degree it doesn't. I was like, that's fascinating. Yeah. And it just,
that's great. That is a great analogy. And, that's something that I'll tell you. I always say there's two parts to this. And I always say we get off the bench, you have to know where you're headed, because otherwise, and you don't have to have a plan. You don't have to have a plan that every little stepped out. You've got to have a vision. You have to know where you're headed. But I also say that even the tiniest little step, every single tiny step, 1 foot in front of the other, is the only way you're ever going to get there, because you can't just fly there. And last week I had Brock Williams on my podcast, and he's just run from Adelaide to Rosedale in Gippsland to raise money for, what was it, the Sony Foundation of Australia, and they help families pay for accommodation near hospitals, when their kids are in hospital and that kind of stuff. He raised $45,000, and I was fast. What a run, and so, because he's got a mate, Xavier, who's got cancer. So and Brock's only about 20, 21, something like that. And he decided to do this run, and he planned, and he was like, just, I've got my eye on this big vision. That kind of stuff. When he started running in his first 3 days, he broke down. Like he had really bad muscle pain. He had, and I don't know what it's called, an ITB or something, some parts of your body anyway, gave up on him, right? And he was in so much pain. And interestingly, what you're saying, he went the opposite, because he had his mind on Rosedale. He had his mind on getting there, but because he was in so much pain, he kept saying, I just have to do one step, just one step, focus on where you are now. So isn't it maybe it's to do with where you're
Context.
physically or
Yeah.
mentally at. Yeah.
Well, a year ago, I was training for a TV show, which I got invited to audition for, but it didn't end up going ahead. But in the process, I reached out to Craig. I wasn't training with him at the time. And I said, can you train me for this show? Don't know what, I kind of knew the concept, didn't know. So the training was every day I would ring him and he would give me something completely out of my comfort zone. And that stemmed from, that was when I first started running. And now I haven't run for years because I've got bad knees. Running, strength training, walking bloody 10Ks in bare feet on all sorts of terrain, getting in the ocean in the middle of winter in the freezing ocean, like just dumb stuff that was totally not what I'm used to. And and the nerves and anxiety and anticipation every day around it and fitting it in, I just thrived on it. But the very first thing he gave me was, I don't know if you know of a place called the Sandringham Steps. There's just about 100 and something steps, concrete steps down to the beach down in Sandringham.
Yeah.
And he goes, I want you to go there and you're going to do 50 laps up and down and you're going to do it in 50 minutes. And I went, crikey, all right. Well, you know, like I was just doing a bit of boxing and that. I wasn't doing anything with my legs. I go there. I did about 12 and I started thinking he's made, okay, well, the first one I timed, it was 1.5 minutes and I was like, okay, well, that won't do because that's 50% longer than it needs to take at a minimum on the first one. And I got about 12 in and I went, okay, this is really bad. Do I call him and tell him this is bad news? This is not going to happen. All this head talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I kind of went, all right, what's going to happen? Do I have any injuries? And is what I'm going through and what I'm potentially going to go through tomorrow when I can't walk, is it silly? Am I in condition to do this? What matters right now? And I was like, what matters is my mental. I've got no physical reason to not be able to do this. I can push myself. It's all mental. I just chanted from that point forward. I chanted in my head, every step is one more step. Every step is one more step. Every step is one more step. And and for the next hour and 27 minutes.
Wow.
And that's what got me through was just, I didn't look more than 3 steps ahead of me. It was the most brutal thing. I took a video of my legs at the end, just standing at the top, just shaking uncontrollably. And it felt amazing. But that, just like you said, I just went, every step is one more step. I couldn't think any further than the step. And if I looked up and saw more than 3 steps before the top, I'd collapse at the top. So I just had to pretend it wasn't happening.
We're so much more capable than what we think we are, aren't we? Like we really. But then that's sort of the other thing too. I don't reckon everything's duality. This is what's really interesting is that there's one thing that can work here, but it can't work there, and or can it, or does it, or are we just making it up? But you know, sometimes you've. I don't know where I was going with this, but I was going to say sometimes you've just got to quit. You know, sometimes we're an absolute idiot, you know, to do something, and other times we're just telling ourselves that we can't do something. So what's the reason behind it? Why does it matter so much to us? I reckon this is where we've got to really get into our further than our psyche and go right into our heart and go, why am I doing this? You know, because I know people that I know where I was going on the angel dust. I don't know if you remember that was a drug, and a lot of people were taking it. This was years ago, and it's probably still around. I don't know.
I feel like a nerd because I don't even have. I've never heard of it.
and you know, I'm dead against drugs. Like I just absolutely am not promoting it. But people would take it, and they could lift up a car, like because it was it stopped your mind from going, I can't do it. You know, I can do it. So they would lift up a car. They'd jump out of like windows 3 stories up thinking they could fly and shit like this. So, and I know that was a mind-altering experience. It wasn't just your brain going, I can't do it. You know, that was sort of an alteration, says I can do it, and I think I'm bloody better than I am. And as I would lift up the cars, their muscles would tear off their bones like, because they couldn't feel it. And so a lot of people were dying, not from the drug, but because of what they believed that they could do. So isn't it interesting, our mind, like what our mind can do and prevent us from, but at the same time tell us to do some stupid bloody things that we should. our mind is a mysterious bloody machine, isn't it?
I want to find as this is terrible. I want to find a meme that I just sent to someone because it's right on that. It was hilarious. Wait for it. Oh, courage is knowing it might hurt and doing it anyway. Stupidity is the same, and that's why life is hard.
Yeah,
How true is that?
that is exactly what we're talking about. That is exactly it.
But I feel like it's a dichotomy. It's a blessing and a curse, and I feel I think it makes what I do or try to do in all aspects of life, whether that's just the podcast or with my coaching clients or talking about anything, because I'm so curious and excited, but frustrated because I know that. So the moment that TV show wasn't going ahead, my drive to do now, Craig was never there watching. And whatever task every time I ran a PB. It's ridiculous. He would give me a run that I couldn't do and I'd do it. And I was like, what the hell? And in my head, I went, running is just about how willing you are to be as uncomfortable as possible for as long as possible. That's all it is. It's not even about ability.
Yeah.
Now, I still run. I ain't doing that. I am just jogging along, so part of me in that moment, it was like, yeah, it's just how willing you used to, to get uncomfortable. Same person, different day, different scenario. I'm not singing that same mantra, and it's a contradiction, but that's life. And I think it's really important that we own up to that, because because half the people listening are going, yeah, I'm going to go get uncomfortable. And the other half are in a really different mindset and state and circumstance right now. And hearing that message makes them think, oh, I'm shit house.
Yeah. But for some, it's stupidity. For some, it is stupidity. Like, you don't risk yourself to prove anything. It's got to be where it comes from in here and what it's about. Why is it? But I love it. I'm changing tact a little, but it's still the same. You're talking about courage, and I love this. Get off the bench, have courage. And I've been saying lately, it's a numbers game. Life's just a numbers game. Play it, and don't play it like as in disrespecting people, but just play it and take the personal side out of it. Like I'm the same as you. You just ask anyone to be on your podcast, and multiple will say no, or they won't even come back to you or whatever. And it's a numbers game. Like whoever turns up, and that's all there is to it. And if you focus on that, you're not focusing on they hate me. I'm not good enough. I'm not bloody big enough. I don't have 1 million followers, all that kind of shit. You just kind of go, oh, well, it is what it is. And I want to sort of point out to both of our listeners, and I know that you've been banging on about this, but mine haven't heard this yet. But I absolutely love you. You've got the balls of a bloody, I don't know what, a goddamn ball, but you're just amazing, because you reach out to anyone and you just go. You've got this whole mantra about just have a crack, just fucking give it a go, just go for it. Mm-hmm. And I love that about you. And there's a lot of people I speak to, coming back to you in a minute, Tiff, but a lot of people I speak to don't, they're not willing to have a crack because they think it's a personal attack. If something goes wrong, if I don't get the response I want, they must hate me. I've made a fool of myself, blah, blah, blah. And you're not making a fool of yourself, because there's that great saying that I love. You wouldn't worry what people thought of you if you realized how little they actually did. The people aren't actually out there thinking about you, and where I was going was, when we don't realize how many freaking amazing things can come of taking that chance, because, and I love to say, every no is one step closer to a yes. Just keep going. And and I want you reaching out to people, and one of yours is Mark Seymour. Now I'm going to talk about your song because I friggin' love this, right? Now, Mark Seymour, Hunters and Collectors, like a rock star, Australian. For any of people in Australia, we all know Mark Seymour's a bloody Aussie rock star legend, and they're almost untouchable. We kind of see these people as untouchable. You know what I'm saying? They're too good for us. They're out of our league. They're not human, that kind of stuff. So you've reached out to Mark Seymour, and not only you got him on your podcast, you had a little jam session in person, you know, blah blah blah, and then he went. Now he's written a song about you, and not only that, is the whole bloody album is called The Boxer. Do you know which is is it been released yet? I know the song has, but has the
The
album?
album will be released on April the 19th.
Oh,
Yeah.
freaking amazing! So and you have so one, not only that, like great things have happened for you because you've reached out, you had the courage, you've not only befriended Mark, you've chatted with him, you had some really quality time and quality content with him. And I don't mean content as in influencer content shit, but stuff that people really care about to listen. You know, that's a, and now your life has really changed because now he's suddenly gone to you, God, you're worth a lot of value. Do you know? And I'm going to write about that, and I'm going to show you how valuable you are. You know, and that's boosted you. That, like, not that you needed it, but that's just, why not? You know, that's just a real icing on the cake for your courage. And on the other side of it, you've changed his life. You know, by going, hell, I never knew what boxing was about. I never knew that I had this in me. I never knew that. You know, you've shown me another side of me, and now you've opened me up to a whole other world of writing, you know, of songs and stuff. This is the stuff that comes from courage. You know, 20 seconds of courage changes lives. It really. I'll let you talk now, Tiff, but I freaking love it. Love
Yeah,
it.
it's so true, and it's been so, like, I've obviously reflected and reflecting on this so much. I remember 2020, after recording the first podcast, going and having my dinner, coming back to the studio, sitting down after Zoom had downloaded, fast forwarding to the end where he sung "Throw Your Arms Around Me," watching it, and I remember my eyes welling, just going, fuck, really? Really? Did that just happen? And I always keep saying, I want to go back just for a moment to 2020 and try and sit next to myself and go, hey, in 2024, this is what's going to be.
Yep.
Like, but what's been really special, two things. One is watching. So I'm getting all of this feedback forwarded from the record company. They are more excited. This album seems to be making waves with the people that matter in music, which is really cool, you know. And when you can touch into something creatively like that, it's a really cool thing. But understanding what the sport of boxing so has done, like, just watching the growth with Mark and hearing how he now writes about the sport and what it's meant to him. Now, I didn't do that. I just connected. I just allowed him a channel with someone, myself, who connects with boxing in a really deep way that changed me. And it means so much to watch someone else connect with it in that way. And that's, I've been training him twice a week for 18 months. And I just love that. But it did take courage because in between the first and second recording, and it was the second one in person where we talked about boxing. He had a boxing bag in his garage and he was doing a bit. He was really interested. And I was like, oh, you know, you should come for a session sometime. And I followed up a couple of times. Now, little did I know he was going through a rough time and a big change.
Yep.
And he did come in for a session. And then I didn't hear from him for a bit. He said he was coming back. He loved it. Said he was coming back. And then I didn't hear from him. And then I followed up and I followed up. But when I followed up, you know, I really checked in, you know, like I put myself out there. I thought, you know, I don't know what it's like to be that famous, whether asking someone about their personal life and if they're all right, and but like actually leaning in like that is to like how that's going to be received. But I did it anyway. And I think that helped make all the difference, you know, just to really connect because, oh, and it's changed. The other thing is it's changed my perception of fame, personalities, status, people, everyone, you know, like all of that falls away. I have to remind myself now. I'm like, we do the filming for that film clip and 3 hours later I was like, oh, wow, that was it. Like, if you're seeing it from a different side, it's like, oh, that's a wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you're so right, and I think that leaning in and that honesty, you like the yeah, I sound like I'm kissing your ass, but I'm not. I really do value who you are and what you put out there. I really do. It's just, and one of those things I said courage, but the other thing is authenticity. And you truly put yourself out there from the heart, like you wear your heart on your sleeve, and people feel that. People
Mm.
feel that. So when many people will like find the appropriate thing to say in an email, and should I say that, and I'll withdraw that, and I'll change that to something that sounds a bit more professional. I never do that shit. It's straight from the heart. I put emojis in all my professional emails. Some people must go, what the fuck's with all these smiley faces? But I don't care, because that's how I feel from the heart. And a lot of people do say to me, I appreciate that. I actually appreciate that you care, that you check in and care. And that's exactly what you're saying. That just check from your heart, and we're all human beings. And I think we get too bloody caught up in how do I appear, or do I appear professional? Am I saying the right thing? And at the end of the day, it's just one heart connecting to another heart. And everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be cared about. Everyone wants to be seen and heard and valued. And so why aren't we being more honest and wearing our heart on our sleeves more often? Why aren't we doing that? Why do we have to keep this mask on? That's just it, it's hurt, like it hurts us. Actually, freaking hurts us to wear a mask. And
Yeah, well, I love it because I wanted to talk to you about after coming down and being a part of your amazing event. Like, I can't tell you how much of an impact that had on me, and it's because I walked, and I go to events all the time. I'm the networking queen, but I walked into the event down in Gippsland that you put on, and the room, I could feel like the energy in the room hit me, and like, how do you create that? And like, I want to talk about how you have created that, and what sort of deliberate work you've done on yourself, or what sort of, I mean, it's so out of the box, so different to what people teach and do. What's your process?
well, you're talking about the Girls with Hammers conference, and I
Yeah.
love it. This is our fifth one, and we only missed 1 year because of COVID. But and I won't go into how it started, but it started with me I will, but real one quickly. I wanted to go into schools. I wanted to go into schools and tell girls, stop sexualizing yourself. You can be a girl with a hammer. You can be whatever you want. Stop taking pictures of your boobs and sending them to boys, and stop doing that shit. I went into a couple of schools, and the girls were just looking at me like, who the hell's this old nana telling us what to do, right? And they weren't impressed at all. But then we thought, and there was also another thought in that, is that let's do a trade conference, like, and have girl sparkies talk, and girl tradies, and
Yeah.
and let's get girls from schools coming and going, far out, I could be a sparky, I could be a plumber, that sort of stuff. That was our first thought about it. But when all the kids in the schools are kind of like, oh, fuck off, I was like, oh shit, and then we decided, so I did it with my partner, and then we decided, no, let's just have a conference and let's get some empowering women speakers, and let's see who turns up. And the people who turned up were like mostly women 45 to 65. There are a lot of outliers, but that's the guts of it. And what we really noticed is that what a lot of them said is, I've connected with people I never would have connected with. They love the music, they love the fun, but the big thing was, I can be me for the day. I don't have to be a wife. I don't have to be a mother. I don't have to be an employee. I'm just showing up as me, and I'm just going, I don't give a shit what happens today. This is all about me, But it's gone beyond that, and it's all about me, but it's all about everyone else in the room too. Like everybody loves everyone. And I think that the secret is, if there's a secret sauce, I don't know, I've thought about this many times, but I absolutely love with all my heart every single person in that room. And extend that, and I hug people as they walk in, and I don't know if that's it. I actually don't know. And, I'm on stage. You've seen it. I fuck up. I'm like, oh, I can't remember what I was doing. Nikki's at the side with the clipboard going, Karen, draw the raffle. And people find that really, really hilarious, But I think that I think it's just about love. And I think when I'm on that stage the first thing in the morning, I say, what we're going to do today is we're just going to love each other. Yeah, be bloody love each other. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's what I say, or I don't know whether it's the music. I don't know whether they just get into the wine at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I think you nailed it in what you said, and I don't even think you realised. But because for me, you turn up and you are just you. And that immediately gives everyone permission to be just them. And because there's no element of show, and well, I mean, you are a show, let's be honest. There's a whole element of show, but it's not you can tell when someone's putting on a show, or you can tell when someone's naturally loves to be a show the way you are, and just takes that on stage in a conference environment. And that just immediately gives permission, and everyone's kind of shoulders drop, and it's like, oh, we don't have to pretend to be anything, because Karen's up there bloody rolling around having the time of her life. Like, that's powerful. I don't think you can.
Yeah, you're
I mean,
right.
you can. I don't know. I wonder sometimes. I wrote before when you were speaking way earlier in this conversation, deliberate work. I wanted to ask what sort of deliberate work you've done on yourself, on your mindset, on the way that you think or do or change along the way.
When we got to COVID, it was because I wanted to put out my podcast. The 1st of January 2020, and I got so excited about it. And then right up to it, my sister had a cardiac arrest, and which she didn't die. I don't know how we saved her. And then we had the big fires, and I wanted to volunteer to save animals, and I felt I wasn't accepted, so therefore I turned it into rejection. You're just rejecting me, and I'm not good enough. And then we got COVID, and then I just, oh, fuck me dead. This is just screw this shit. I don't know what to do. So I started my podcast anyway, and I just thought, I'm just going to do it. And I think one of the things I thought was it's going to keep me upright, because I don't know what COVID's doing. I don't know. I started my work. I actually started doing the work I do now right before COVID, right before the end of 2019. And it was kind of like, oh my God, what a time to pick. And now what am I going to do? And so instead of getting into the doldrums about it, I thought, if I do a podcast, I've got to show up every week. I can't be laying around in my pajamas drinking wine, and I don't drink wine much anyway, but, I can't do that. And so, but the other thing was, it also shifted me that I thought, I don't know, like, how can I say this? I've had this underlying sense of sadness for years and years and years. And yes, my other sister died 20 years ago, one of my other sisters, and that was from cancer. And I think I just never got over it, and it was more than that. And there's probably a lot I can't really speak about, because I don't want people hearing this that will be hurt by it. But her husband, had a brain injury and was not so great with the kids, and they took them away, and so there was this grieving also that we couldn't see the kids, and there's a lot of stuff, and it's just this it was an underlying sadness. And I thought that when COVID came, I was just sort of looking on LinkedIn and a bit lost, like, I don't know what. I don't know why I feel like this. And I was saying it to Nikki, I don't know why I feel like this, and I can't put my finger on it. I don't really know what it is. And blah, blah, blah. I found this person that Janet Hogan, and her daughter Clover was in my first book. So I kind of had a trust, because I'd already communicated with her. She had this thing on, I don't know what was now I can't remember, the fifth door or something. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go and do it. And I had not been good at investing in myself. I just was one of those people that was kind of like, and I still carry this mantra, and I need to check myself often, is just toughen up. For fuck's sake, toughen up. Like, who gives a shit? Like, get on with life. It's too short to just be sooking and whinging, that. So, and I still find myself constantly doing that. But and to work on yourself, I actually saw that as like weak. I need a therapist. I need a psychologist. There's something broken in me, and I never wanted to admit that, never wanted to feel that. But I did this work, and it was over a few months, and as a group, we all showed up, and we did work through some, just questions about us and who do I want to be, how do I show up, and that. Oh no, it wasn't quite like that, but it was kind of like saying, "What's your passion?" Actually, that's what it was. It was figuring out what is your passion. But we did DISC, and I'm now a DISC consultant, and I love DISC. So the DIS and C, so 4 different personality types. And I'm an I, and an I is an outgoing buddy, like a parrot, if you want to put a bird to it, yakety yak.
I's for influencer, isn't it?
Yep, influencer. Yep, interactive influencer. So you would be an I as well. And when I did it, I suddenly went, oh my God, I actually like myself. I love myself, because prior to that, I was working at TAFE. I was a teacher, and I would upset the entire staff room. I would just go off my head every hour and just be like a lunatic, right? And I used to think I was so funny, right? I would crack myself up, right? And other people around the room would be laughing, and that's not good for an eye, because of course we're like, well, I've got an audience, I'm going to keep going, right? And then there were the C types, in which, and I'm not criticizing any, because I love all types, and now I understand them. They would go back behind their desks, behind their walls, and put their headphones on and give me dirty looks. And I used to think, hell's wrong with you? What a cranky bitch, you snooty old, I used to label them, like, oh, you snooty bloody thing, and your bitch face, resting bitch face. And I had all these labels, and it wasn't until I actually did DISC that I'm like, oh no, the other thing I was going to say is I would go home, drive home, and the whole way home, God, you're an idiot. Why the fuck can't you shut up? Why do you have to do that? Why did you say that bloody thing? Why did you do that? And constantly self-punishment about why I was a dickhead, And then when I did it, I was like, my God, this is actually me. I'm meant to be like this. But what I learned from that was, now I have to regulate that. Now, if I regulate, I can still be all that, but I can be more self-aware about the other types around me. And so I love that so much that I went on to get to become a consultant, because I love that stuff, and it changes lives. But so that was part of it. And then I also I had a money blockage, and I went and saw Lisa Schermerhorn. You've had her, had her on not long
What a
ago.
legend, yeah.
Love Lisa. And one thing over Zoom unblocked all that stuff, because I'd started my own business, going out. Well, I already had my own business, but I wanted to do specifically facilitation and that, which I'd been doing anyway for 15, 16 years, but for somebody else. It's always been for, and she just went bam like that. So if anyone interested in unblocking a money blockage, Lisa Schermerhorn, either one of us can give you her details. She incredible. She did NLP, hypnosis with me, and just unblocked it. And it made me realize that, how I think I've spoken to you about this before, is that it come from my mother. You were talking about epigenetics last time we talked.
Yeah.
It's something that my mother carried from her mother, not letting her see her little sister when she died, and not letting her go to the funeral, and sort of hiding it from her. And then mum gets pregnant with me, and I carry this shit. And so it's funny that I could never put my finger on what I don't understand what this blockage is. It was kind of like, I don't feel good enough. I don't feel like I deserve the right to have a voice at the table, or that's what I thought other people were thinking. And it was just causing so much conflict in me. So, and after doing these two things, became really apparent to me that investing in yourself is actually a really bloody good thing. And it's not shameful, and it's not, you're not broken, you don't, it's not weak, so I don't know. And I've seen a few other people, but I don't really have one mentor. I sort of see whoever, I just reach out to whoever I kind of need at the time. Sam Horn is another one in America. She's just a bloody, she's a legend. I'll book a few sessions with her, and she just nuts me out in no time, about business planning and stuff like that. But and it's something that I teach with my leadership stuff too, is that you get the mask off. Just get the mask off, like wear your heart on your sleeve, even if it's not what people want to hear, even if it's embarrassing, if you feel like it, just be vulnerable. And vulnerability is something
How do you straddle the space between knowing when to accept, when to practice acceptance and embrace things, and when to change them? So there's, especially like, DISC has a huge similarity to the personality side of PH360 epigenetics.
Yeah.
I had the same experience when I studied that in 2020, and I went, oh, I'm not a douchebag.
Yeah.
I'm different to all my business partners in this scenario, and I'm different. I'm not shit because I don't think and have priorities in the same places and ways that they do.
Yeah.
And what in my strengths they don't have. So when neither of us are better, we're just very different. But so there was this level of acceptance, and what I still find to these days, because like we're always a project, we're always working on ourselves, wherever we get to. There's always new things we want to change, new learnings, new perspectives on old things.
Yeah.
And I'm always navigating myself and understanding, when am I telling myself a story for comfort's sake? It's sort of like that knowing, like there's all this unconscious stuff going on with our bias, like that stuff you talk about with financial stuff. Like I said to you when you passed on Lisa's details, I was like, oh yeah, I need to do a money session. Money fascinates me because it's attached to, I think for me, money and finances can represent things that I think in my subconscious are very, can keep me stuck. And that's that idea of safety, security, abandonment, and worthiness. So you think of money and what it represents: safety, security, independence. And these are all the areas in my life where I have a really tight grip. So the world's longest question, I'll shut up and let you actually talk a bit on it. How do you figure out or know or get a sense of when you should accept and embrace characteristics or a way of being, and when it needs to change?
I have a really firm line. So there's two things. One is, I think that self-reflection is the only way we grow, self-awareness and self-reflection. So I take in what anybody says or what I think they're saying, and I depersonalize it. I sort of detach from it, and then I review it. Does that make sense? I reflect on it and go, if I were them, or if I was looking in on this, how would I appear? How would I be looking? So I take that personal edge off it. And if I look at it and go, oh shit, that's not real good behavior, then I can go, yeah, that needs a change. Or if I can see that I'm doing something from a really strongly ethical point of view, I think, no, I'm not going to change because I'm going to compromise my values. So, which leads me to the next part, is really knowing what your values are. And I'm not talking about just honesty, integrity, that, but really knowing what you stand for and what you get up for every day. And are your decisions and are your actions aligned to that? So I think that's a really good measure of when we change and when we accept. Does it fit in that values box? But there's a secondary part to that, is that your values box can't harm anybody else. Like, it's got to be that you value it because it makes a better world, because when you're standing in that space, you're bringing about better change to, and better can be subjective as well, because what you think's better might not be what someone else thinks is better. But I love there's the Buddhist saying, if you can't help somebody, don't harm them. And I often think about that a lot, is that you just, if you're the above and below the line, if you're above the line, you're behaving in a way that you're accepting responsibility, you're taking ownership for your shit, you're trying to do good, you're trying to create a better footprint and that kind of stuff, then generally I either won't change something if it's sitting there, or if it's not sitting there, I will change to get it there, if that makes sense. If you're below the line, you're just generally blaming and denying and justifying, and so I think I've kind of given you a few answers there, but there's a few sort of there's a few variables that kind of fit into the jigsaw, but
Yeah,
I think self-reflection is a big one when you've actually got to stop and think, and often what we do is we have a behavior, or we do something, or there's a characteristic of us, and we'll just keep ignoring it, and we'll just keep bearing it. And if people don't like, get fucked, and then we make a story up, we push people away. Who cares? My life's not your bloody choice, that sort of stuff. And I think if we really know who we are, we don't need to be like that. We can say, yeah, actually, that was pretty shit behavior. And we also have to remember that none of us are perfect, and we're all going to slip below that line, even when we have the best intentions. But the difference is not whether we slip below the line. The difference is whether we recognize that we have, and then take action to move back up again. Do you know what
yeah.
without the punishment?
Yeah, I've got a question around. So when you spoke earlier, and how did you hold on to your vision and understand? So you started in business and you had a really strong vision. You knew exactly what you had to give. Exactly. I'm
Yep.
going into schools and I'm teaching the girls this, and
Yep.
it didn't land.
Yep.
And then you sat back and you went, I'm going to go do this thing and I'm going to see who shows up. And then once you saw who showed up, and how did you understand what they were receiving? How did you get out of the way of thinking you knew what you were putting out, and understand how they were what they were receiving, and then understand your values and really make that a concise kind of on brand thing?
Oh, that's a big question. And I often wonder whether we really have got it right, but I think we have. We seem to have we do evaluations at the end of every conference as well, and we ask for the truth, and they're always good, they're always great, but you'll get a couple in there, that have got suggestions, and they kick you in the guts, because you're kind of like, oh, you're on a high. That was a great day. That was fucking awesome. We go back to the motel because we can't even drive anywhere. By the end of the day, we're screwed. So we stay at a motel in the town. And then we eventually, sometime that night, we'll get out the evaluations and look at them, and we're still on a high. And then there'll be one comment, or another, and they kick in the guts. Yeah. But you've got a choice in that moment, to go, do we listen to, do we say, oh, fuck you, oh, we're on a high, you're only one person in 200, we don't really care what you say? Or do we go, shit, let's look at that, let's sit down and discuss that stuff? And sometimes we determine that, no, that was just someone having a bad day. And sometimes we determine that, yeah, actually, that's a really bloody good point. I don't know if I'm answering your question right. Am I? No, I'm missing a point somewhere.
No, I think you are. I guess for me, it's probably just me asking a really selfish question, because I often
I love it.
with all the things that I do. So I'm personal training and coaching boxing, and I'm doing PH 360 health coaching, and I do speaking, and I do podcasting. And I do podcasting in a really broad. When people say, what's your podcast about? I'm like, kind of, there's a lot in there. It's basically, it's how do we roll with the punches in life. I'm curious. I'm along for the ride. You're going to learn, probably not from me. You're going to learn for the fact that I'm going to be half a step in front, just asking all the questions, so you don't have to ask them. I don't have the answers, and that's the point.
Yeah.
And I'm always looking at all of that and thinking, because I want to streamline things. I want to offer more online. I want to be able to offer. I was doing a lot more online workshops before.
Yeah.
And I had thought, I'd love to have some evergreen stuff that people can access whenever
Yeah.
they come into the realm and want to do it, rather than waiting for me to have some
Yeah.
time and put something out that actually aligns with them. And then I think, gee, as an overall umbrella, what is it? Because everything's got such a different skew,
Yeah.
those things. So I guess how have you figured that out?
No, I haven't. I haven't. That tortured me at the start. When I decided to do my facilitation more so than Girls and Hammers, but um, I kept trying to put stuff under an umbrella. I kept trying to say, well, because I do the same as you. I run conferences, I do facilitation, I have a podcast, I do speaking, all that kind of stuff. Excuse me. And it's kind of like, well, what do I call myself? What do I do? And I was torturing myself like hell, for so long. And then I decided, look, it's just staying under the Karen Vaughan brand. I don't care. And this is what I offer, and this is what I do, and this is what I do. And what I decided on is, if I show up to everything I do with fun, with just truly me, then I'm maybe I shouldn't do this, but I do this. I just have faith that everything will land where it's supposed to land. I hear a lot of people talking about faith, and I don't have a religious faith at all. I don't believe in any of that. And sorry to anyone that offends, but that's the way it is. But I have a big faith in the universe, and I have a big faith in things turning out the way they should. I think we still, I've got this great thing. It's like, it's my ABC theory. So I'm here, and this is what I see. So there's my vision. And in the middle, let it be. And it's kind of like, well, let the universe deal with that B. But also the B is, be active, be aware, be opportunistic, be kind, so all these be all these things, but don't make them be as in a step-by-step plan. Does it let the universe conspire that shit? You just be. So you show up as every opportunity to just be, and be present, be real, be authentic, be whatever. And that theory, or some might say, I know some people will say, oh, that's just bullshit. If you don't plan yourself, you're never going to make anything of yourself, blah, blah. And people have said that to me, and too bad. But I like it, because I don't want my life to be a rigid plan. I just want to keep turning up better every day. Like, is there something I could do better today without punishing myself? And today I need to go out and water the fruit trees. Yeah, fuck it. I'm going to take 10 minutes out and go water the fruit tree. Does that make sense? Rather than
100%.
punish myself. And
yeah. Harps and I recently did a podcast on self-help cliches, and we were having a rant about some of the bloody bullshit that we say and people say that really isn't helpful, and probably sometimes is quite a hindrance. But one of the things I remember talking about was having a rant on that whole the universal, leaving shit up to the universe. But one of the points I made that I wholeheartedly believe in is, like, I can't be worried about everything I need. And this, when I was thinking about it as you were talking, I was like, this really applies to me, because of that sense of independence and maybe fear of abandonment and aloneness, is I just need the belief in some sort of support.
Yeah.
So if I want to leave stuff up to, in inverted commas, the universe, whatever, a bit like yourself, whatever that means to me, it doesn't mean the galaxy and the bloody, rocks in the sky. I don't know what it means, but it means that the energy and the faith. We have to have faith and hope. They've done, that mouse study where they put these mice in water to see how long they'd swim to live. And it was, let's say, I can't remember, I think it was like an hour or whatever. I'll get the times wrong, as I always do, but an hour, they all drowned, sadly.
Oh, well, I was hoping you'd have a better outcome.
No, there is a better outcome. They do the study again, and they put the mice back in, but just before that time, they pull them all out, dry them off, give them some food, then they put them back in, and it was something like 60 hours they swam for, because they had hope. So if we remove hope, you take someone and say there is no fucking universe, and you take hope away from them, what are they left with? There's no
Yeah.
will. I always think about that with, do we have free will?
Mm.
Well, does it even matter? What matters is what I decide, because I need to believe that I have a sense of control, but also sometimes I need to believe that the world's just got my back, and that whatever choices I make will be the right choices. So
Yeah,
there's
100%.
getting it right on how much do I control, and how much will the world just bloody spoil. Something really cool happened when I bought my motorbike. So I was, you know, working really hard for the last 4 years after COVID, and making a big purchase like that was a big deal for me. Like, I finally did it. I did it, and I was like, yep, sweet. The next day I find out that one of my former clients actually owns one of the dealerships I didn't know about. One of their family does. I won't say who or which one. I was like, oh, that would have been handy to know. Anyway, after a conversation, and that, they said, oh, send us through your sponsorship proposal. Something may or may not come of it, but at the end of the day, I was like, oh, wow. The very next day, someone reaches out to me on Instagram, having a bit of a chat, and then says, oh, hey, do you want to come and speak at my blah, blah, blah gig? Bring your bike and speak. And I just went, the top two things I want to increase in my business is sponsors on the show
Yep.
and speaking gigs.
Yep.
And all I did was let go, stop being a bloody over-controlling psychopath with finances, do something that I love. And those two things just fell in my lap. And I've always believed that when you put an intention out there, and you have a bit of faith, and you show that, shit comes from left of field.
I agree. And also that you hit on something there, do stuff I love. And I think that, I've got a sign up here, for God's sake, Karen, tell the universe what you want. And so for years and years and years, and I often forget about it, and I get frustrated. I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay. And then I see the sign, I'm like, just tell. And then I say it, and then it comes. And I know some people are going to go, what a crock of shit, that bunch of woo-woo. But it's always happened in my life. Like I've said, oh, shit, I need to work Wednesdays. And then the next day they'll go home, and there's a message on my machine, hey, listen, we're looking for someone for Wednesdays, are you interested? Like, this was years ago, stuff like that. But you're talking about joy, and when do you, so the universe sits in that B part, but you have to bloody work. You have to do shit. You can't just sit on your couch and go, hey, universe, drop shit in my lap, because I'm pretty special, and I'm feeling entitled, so drop it in. You still got to bloody show up. Like, you still have to do something. But I reckon if you show up with joy, like, you find joy, appreciation, gratitude. I know I'm sick of hearing gratitude, but it bloody changes stuff, like, appreciate stuff, feel, and I reckon make decisions on how you feel. Like, if you feel shit, don't do it. If you feel great, just do it. Even if you think this is going to cost me $10,000 that I don't even have, like your bike, it feels fantastic. And I was listening to a podcast with Lewis Howes, and he was interviewing Rhonda Byrne, who wrote
Yeah.
The Secret. Well, she put together The Secret, whatever. Anyway, it's her creation. And there's one line on there that, and this might even actually go back to the Girls with Hammers thing. And she said, if your presence brings joy to others, you are living the best life you can possibly live. And now I say that, I realize that really does connect back to Girls with Hammers, because if your presence, you just have to show up with joyful presence. And if it brings joy to others, you can't live a better life. Like, everything that you want, she goes on to say, everything that you want will come to you, because you're in that. There'll be many people listening to this going, well, what a crock of shit, what a crock of woo. I don't really care. But you hit that vibrational frequency of joy. And when you're in joy, so much happens. Like, that is just the ultimate level of frequency where you can shift anything in your life, just by being in that joy. And I know that's a big statement. I know that, and I haven't mastered it. I'm saying it like, oh yeah, I'm the expert on joy. I'm not. I'm still a cranky fucking pants half the time, but I get that works. How do you stay there? I don't know. That's another, because how do you shift to joy when you're having a really shitty day? But if you make some effort and sit there and, it's kind of like, I kind of feel like it's you don't have to go from woe to joy in 10 seconds, but you just have to get on that train, the train that just nudges it. There's so much to be said about nudges. Just nudge in the right direction. And then you get momentum, you end up in joy. Do you
Yeah.
know that sort of
Yeah.
stuff?
And
We're trying
even
to,
like context and perspective along the way. For me, every time I'm in a shitty place, I'm like, it's really important for me to know that, because generally people are coming to me wanting to not be in a shitty place. So
yeah,
I need to know what it feels like. And every time, okay, I do not love being there. But once I start to come away from that, then I'm so appreciative, because I have a new perspective. I can actually speak a language that other people are understanding,
yeah,
rather than some, you know, Yahoo that's just got this one way of seeing
yeah,
things and feeling things and knowing things.
yeah,
Your that vibration, I'm coming back to that conference, like when I think about, I just went, I got to be here. I've got to be in this room. This is worth being in. And like I said, with network, I do a lot of networking, but there's a lot of stuff. I'll look at an event and go, that'd be awesome. Oh, fuck, that's expensive. I'm not doing that. Now, we're talking about your event down in Gippsland's huge drive for me, but I'm like, I'm gonna be keeping my eye out when that shit's on. Like, I've got to be in that room. And if someone said, well, oh yeah, what do you do? But I'm like, you just got to be there,
yeah.
because
I
it's
know.
vibrational. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
is there a plan with it? No, but I know that when I come out of there, and for a long time afterwards, I was inspired and thinking creatively and differently and moving forward differently. Stuff changes in our minds and our hearts when we put ourselves in places, and we can't always see it, but we can feel it, and we don't
yeah,
even know what it is.
yeah.
And that happens in that room. You've created that, and you don't have
Thank
to
you.
know about the science of it as
Yeah.
much as I like to.
Thank you. No, I really appreciate you. You've helped me to sort of nut it out a bit more. And something else you just quickly you said there is that about being in a shitty place. I love to be in a shitty place, because we need to be pretty clear. I think you and I agree with this. Toxic positivity. We don't want that. Life, yes, we want to help people. Like you and I get up every day to help people. We want people to be feeling great about themselves, and we want to say to them, yeah, there's a way out and everything else. But you can't just sit in bloody happiness and in positivity all the time. And I was explaining this to someone on my last podcast, I think, is that it's kind of like there's a thing in the middle. And if you only feel a little bit of anger, you'll only ever feel a little bit of
Yes.
joy. But if you feel a hell of a lot of anger, you're going to feel a hell of a lot of joy at the other end. And I'd rather be a feeler. I want to feel every goddamn thing that life punches me in the chest with, because even if it means I'm an absolute asshole for 2 days, because that's when you grow. You grow when you reflect on that and you come out and you think, fuck, what made that happen? Why did I do that? How can I do better? And how can I help people?
Where
It's
else do we get the drive to push that hard? When I first started the show and was talking to a lot of people that had been through or seen or worked around trauma, and then I also started having people on just, high performers. What can we also learn about high performers that have done amazing things?
yeah,
And like real quickly, I was like, oh, these are the same people. These are the same stories and conversations. They're just wrapped up in a different book title.
yeah,
I'm having
yeah,
the same conversation. It's just that one is wrapped up in a veil of greatness. I found greatness, and if you dig deep enough, there's shit that caused them
yeah,
to push hard to find a purpose and to get it. And then you've got some stories that are, hey, this big thing happened, but the end of the story is success and greatness and surviving it. And
yeah.
not anybody that I've ever spoken to has said, actually, yeah, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd take that experience away, no matter how bad the experience.
Yeah,
So,
100%. This is we got to feel that a lot of people don't want to feel, and they'll numb themselves with drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. I'm not criticizing, but I'm just saying it's just if we feel and we can learn to feel and we can learn to handle it, our lives become better. And I know that sounds contradictory, but the more pain we go through and the more we find strategies to cope and the more we reflect on why it happened and how it happened and the difference it's made to us, the better our lives become. And It does really sound contradictory as I say it. I'm kind of saying, thinking as I'm saying it. Fuck, but it's true. It's as true as true, and
I wholeheartedly agree. I reckon I'm going to have to have you back on the show a little bit more, because we are
good.
very chatty, and I am loving all of it. I reckon you've got a lot we could talk about.
I agree. We are very chatty, but I'm glad we connected. I really am. You're just one of those people, and I think I'm the same person to you. You know, you can just be yourself. You can just be authentic. And you can wear your heart on your sleeve and just talk about whatever without that bullshit fear of someone judging you. And I know this. I know there's however many thousand people listen to this, and we don't know their opinions, but the fact we don't care, and I don't mean we don't care about their opinions, is that we're going to say what we're going to say because it matters to us to be authentic, and it matters that one person might be listening to this and their life might change just because of something that one of us has said, and that's the key. That's the key to life, I reckon.
I bloody love it. Karen, you are one of my favourites. Your race. Thank you. Thanks for being in my world.
Well, thanks for being in mine, Tiff. And I'm not going to ask for a dink on the bike, but
Hey, can you get another one and be one of my chick riding buddies? I'm trying to get a girl gang together.
Yeah, but by the time I ride from Sale up to, I'll be like, Tiff, I've got a sore ass. I don't want to do more riding.
I'll meet you halfway.
I love it.
All right, mate. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you. Where can my listeners find you?
Easiest place is KarenVaughn.com. So Kerry. Oh, look, it's on the screen there, but I'll say it. KerrynVaughan.com. And I would love anyone to send me a message and I'll get back to you. That'd be wonderful.
Fabulous.
That's the best place. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.